What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Wake and Jake College Football Show. Today is your Week 9 preview, and it feels so weird to say that because we are so far into the season already, and it has just flown by. This time of year, don't get me wrong, it's great because we're right in the midst of conference play. We've got a lot of good games, but then you realize, wow, the season has just flown by, and it was just you blinked, and we're in the middle of towards the end now of October. So, um, yeah, it's crazy how fast the season flies by. Typical episode today. We do have some news to get into. I did briefly mention it last episode, but we got some news to get into. I am bringing back the freshman QB rankings, so this is going to be an every other week sort of thing, flip flopping with my top 25. We'll preview some games, give out my favorite bets for the weekend, and then call it a show. So, without wasting any more time, let's have a good wake and bake session and get right into it. All right, news to touch on. Coaching carousel continues to claim victims left and right. Billy Napier was fired earlier this week or this last weekend, so he's done at Florida, which I said it in the last episode. Nobody's surprised by that. It was not if, it was a matter of when. But yeah, they finally pulled the trigger, finally fired him. It's gotta suck to get fired after a win because Florida did win last weekend. Um, Shockingly though, he was the only coach that got fired last weekend. Now we did see Florida State's, I believe it was the AD came out and said something along the lines of we're going to reevaluate the coaching and football team after the season. So it sounds like Mike Norvell is going to survive the season. Somehow Luke Fickle has not been fired, but I do have a prediction on that one. Hugh Freeze is still around. Bill Belichick is still around. I think those are like the four main coaches that you have your eye on that'll probably get fired or have a chance to get fired. I'm sure there's going to be one other coach that gets let go or gets fired that we are going to be shocked about. But yeah, Billy Napier's out. Um, I mean, I said in the last episode how Kenny Dillingham is just not getting enough love, I guess, when it comes to these coaching searches. He's not getting talked about enough, in my opinion. And again, I said, it's possible that maybe he's put the word out there that he's not interested, and that's fine, and I completely understand that. But if he has not done that, why has he not been talked about? Because I think maybe not Florida's job, but I don't know why not. I mean, why not? I mean, you probably want somebody who's familiar with the state. I don't know how familiar he actually is. I don't remember if he spent time in Florida at one of his coaching stops or not, but um, he might not be real familiar with Florida. Maybe that's part of it. I don't know. I think Kenny Dillingham should be mentioned in every single coaching search. You got the usual suspects, John Sumrall. You've got Alex Golish. Matt Campbell's also been linked to, I guess, like Wisconsin, as well as Penn State. It'll be interesting. This coaching carousel, it just keeps getting better and better. It has not disappointed yet, and it's going to claim a few more victims before the season's over. This is going to be one of the craziest, the best coaching carousels we have ever witnessed. Um, Two coaches who I think might get fired this weekend. I think Luke Fickle's gone this weekend. I think they didn't fire him after Ohio State because your next game is on the road at Oregon. Don't really want to give that to the interim head coach, as their first, you know, game that they have to game plan for. So let Luke Fickle coach that game. You're gonna lose to Oregon, and then you're going into a bye week. Fire him then. You've got the interim gives them a bye week to get acclimated, not having to prepare for an Oregon after just playing Ohio State. I think Fickle's gone. I also think Hugh Freeze is gone. Because they are what 3-2 right, or I can't remember, either 3-4 I think right now. I can't remember. I have it written down somewhere, but I mean they need to win a couple games here if they want to make a bowl game. Which means they got to beat Arkansas this weekend, and that's not a guaranteed win. Arkansas is not a they're 2-5. Doesn't seem like a great team. We'll get into it a little bit later. Arkansas is not somebody to mess with. So it's possible that Arkansas wins. Hugh Freeze is gone. Let's be honest. We all know it. We're all shocked he hasn't been let go yet. Um, yeah, I mean it's probably time for him to go. I'm not even going to try to fight for an argument to give an argument for him to stay. But yeah, that's all we really had on news. My freshman QB ranking. So here's how I'm going to do it moving on. I'll give my top five, couple honorable mentions, but it's just getting too far into the season where some of these freshman quarterbacks are now getting benched. Some are just now taking over a starting job, and so they've only played like one, maybe two games, so it's hard to. It's going to be much. So top five honorable mentions. That's how it will be moving forward. Number one, no shocker, Julian Sain. He's been phenomenal all season, um, except for against Texas, he was above average. I stand by that. CJ Carr coming in at number two again. Not shocking. Has he been perfect? No. We saw him struggle against Miami. He had a terrible interception this last weekend. But all in all, he's played pretty good. I have him at number two. Bear Bachmeier has jumped up to the three spots. He just continues to impress me week after week. He honestly walked into one of the greatest situations in college football. You come into a team that has a solid foundation, a solid head coach. You have the first like 4 or 5 games of the season are just a cakewalk. They are not hard teams. You got Stanford. It was Cal Poly or some FCS team. Eastern Carolina, which is not a hard game. Colorado, who's not a good team, and yes, they struggled a little bit with Colorado, but all in all, you start them off with a bunch of easy games, and then you just slowly start getting more difficult after that. You go on the road to Arizona, who at that time was the best team that they had faced. It was on the road against a somewhat decent defense. Came away with a win in overtime. That was a big stepping stone for him. Next step, let's face a ranked team at home. At home, not on the road, at home. So Utah comes in, plays BYU. Bear Bachmeier shines, takes that next step forward. He just keeps impressing week after week. Honestly, the way I'm talking about him, he should be number one, but Julian Sand has just been so great. You could argue him for two, but Bear Bachmeier at three. Malik Washington at four. Drake Lindsay at five. And that might be controversial. Maybe I'm a little bit biased, whatever. Uh, Honorable mentions, Jaren Kiave, Sangapulatele, Bryce Underwood would be the next two out. Heinchfield, I don't know how to say it. I don't know. The quarterback for Pitt, he's been playing pretty good. He could be making a run here to make the top five at some point. But I mean, it's the same top six, top seven that it's been all year, just variations of which order they are in. And honestly, I don't expect much change in 2 weeks from now. But right now, Sayin, Carr, Bachmeier, Washington, Lindsay, honorable mentions Sung Bulutele, and Underwood. All right, enough of that. Let's get into this weekend's games. We will start with number 8 Ole Miss on the road at number 13 Oklahoma. Oklahoma is currently a 4.5-point favorite at home. So I feel like Oklahoma's fraudulent. I'm just gonna say it. Oklahoma, I feel like is fraudulent. They do have the number 2 scoring defense, and the number 1 in yardage. Their defense has been good, but when you look at the teams that they have faced, and this is why I think Oklahoma's fraudulent. When you look at the teams that they have faced, they haven't faced many good offenses. You could argue Michigan is the best offense that they have faced so far. And when you think about that, that's kind of scary because Michigan's offense is not that great. I mean, they've had their moments, don't get me wrong. I feel like Bryce Underwood has been great. Run game has been great at times. It's the weapons around Underwood that have struggled. And that's the best offense you can argue that Oklahoma's faced. Ole Miss is hands down the best offense that Oklahoma has faced this year and probably will face the rest of the season. I don't quite remember how their schedule works out. I I feel like this isn't going to go well for Oklahoma. Yes, defensively, Ole Miss hasn't been great. They've been terrible at stopping the run. But here's the thing: Oklahoma can't run the ball either. Remember when they got Jaden Ott? Everybody thought, oh, this is the pickup of the portal season. This is the pickup of the off season, and that has not worked out at all. Right now, Oklahoma is averaging less than 100 yards per game against Power 4 opponents on the ground. Not great. Here's the other thing. They are only scoring 20 points a game against Power 4 opponents. The offense has not been great. Now, again, you're going up against a defense that has been iffy at times, so maybe we see Oklahoma's offense show us something this week. But the fact that that defense is, yes, I'm not saying that they're not a good defense, but they're inflated by the fact that they have not played good offenses. They are actually going to be put to the test this weekend, and I'm really curious how it's going to go. I spent all of last weekend saying how I don't trust Lane Kiffin, don't trust Lane Kiffin. Ole Miss is going to lose to Georgia, and they lost to Georgia. I'm trusting Lane Kiffin this week. I think he upsets Oklahoma on the road. All right, we got Kansas State at Kansas. Kansas is currently a 2.5-point favorite at home. I mean, this game is giving me very blah vibes. It really is. And I think it's because Kansas is just, they're an average team. That's really all it is. And Kansas State has been in a below average team. Two just blah teams going at it gives me very blah vibes. Kansas State got off to a terrible start this season. Started 1-3, finally had a bye week, and since then they are 2-1 with a 1-point loss to Baylor, which you could argue they should have won that game. Should be on a 3-game win streak, but it is what it is. Almost feels like they have kind of figured something out offensively. Feels like they're turning it around. I'm not saying they can save their season at this point. They started off too terribly. It feels like they might have turned it around a little. Now, Kansas, complete opposite of Kansas State. They started 3-1 and then have gone 1-2 in their last three. Most recently, getting blown out by Texas Tech. Now, Kansas State feels like their defense is one of those. They're good 80% of the time. 80% of the time, Kansas State's defense is good, and it's that other 15 to 20% that just screws them over. Too many explosive plays. Because here's the thing: Kansas State, they are a good defense when it comes to third and fourth downs. They just allow too many big plays, just too many explosive plays, and it just screws them over time and time again. During this, what should be a 3-game win streak for Kansas State, over these last 3 games, Kansas State is averaging nearly 200 yards on the ground. And Kansas, in their last 3 games, has been allowing like 250 plus, 260 plus on the ground a game. I mean, one team has figured out the run game. One team has not figured out their run defense over the last 3 games. Kansas State, like I mentioned, they've turned it around. After a terrible start, Kansas, on the other hand, feels like they have just turned into an average team. I think Kansas State might come away with a win in this one. I am putting, and I mean, they're only a 2.5-point favorite, but I'm putting Kansas on upset alert, I guess. I think Kansas State wins this one. We got Auburn at Arkansas. Arkansas is a 1.5-point favorite at home. This one is basically a pick'em. 2 of the worst teams in the SEC. Both are looking for their first conference win. And it feels like we have 2 teams that just could not be more different. Now, one other thing they'll have in common is both will probably have fired their head coaches by the end of the season. Arkansas has already done that. And here's the thing with Arkansas. They have one of the best offenses in the country, and it's why we'll get into it in a sec. They are always in a one-score game because the offense is phenomenal. It's the defense that's terrible. It is one of the worst defenses in all. It could be, you could argue, the worst defense in all of college football. It's bad. In 4 Power 4 games, they are allowing 44 points per game and at the same time also scoring roughly 30 points a game. So defense can't stop anything. Auburn, on the other hand, complete opposite. Good defensively. They have been very good defensively. DJ Durkin has done a great job. Uh, it's shockingly enough, with Hugh Freeze as the head coach, it's the offense that sucks. Offense has been terrible. In 5 Power 4 games, they are only allowing 21, a little over 21 points per game, but they were only scoring 18 points a game. Both of these teams have been so close over the recent weeks. Both of these teams have been so close to pulling off upsets and winning big games, and they just couldn't pull the trigger. Yes, I know Auburn, you got screwed over by the refs. I'm sorry, it sucks. But combined, both of these teams have been in 7 one-score games, and they are 0-7 combined in those 7 games. It hasn't been pretty, but one of them is going to break through this weekend. And I have a feeling it's going to be Arkansas. I really do. I think Arkansas has, weirdly enough, kind of looked like the better team just because they can actually do something offensively, but they just cannot stop a nosebleed. Maybe Jackson Arnold goes off like he did against Baylor, because Baylor also has a terrible defense. I think Arkansas gets their first SEC win. I think Auburn may be saying goodbye to Hugh Freeze after this weekend. All right. Number 15, Mizzou at number 10, Vandy. Vandy is a 2.5 point favorite at home. It feels so weird to say this still. Before the season started, nobody thought this would be a top 15 matchup. And I mean, if you go back 5, 10 years ago, and you told somebody that we were going to have a top 15 matchup between Mizzou and Vandy, you'd be like, oh, that makes sense that Mizzou is top 15. I mean, why not? Vandy, nobody would believe that. Vandy, they were a fun team last year. And this year, they have proven that they're no longer just a fun team. They are a good team. I made fun of Diego Pavia this summer when he said we are coming back to, I don't know if he said compete for a national title or play out, I don't remember. And I made fun of him because I said there's no way you're even going to win the SEC. And right now, they are the number 10 team in the country. So, turns out he wasn't as crazy or as high as I thought he was. Absolutely bizarre world we live in. Now, I've said it every game. I also keep saying it. Whenever Vanderbilt wins a game, you notice that they win at least 2 or 3 things: time of possession, turnover battle, and they are successful on 3rd and 4th downs. If they only are successful at one of those things, chances are they lost. And it's proven time and time again. When Vanderbilt controls time of possession, wins turnover, they win a game. Always. Here's the thing, though. They're going up against Missouri, who has one of the best 3rd down defenses this year, and they are very good at controlling time of possession. So Vanderbilt has just met basically what they try to be. So I'm really excited for this one. I lean Vandy, but I would not be surprised if Mizzou can pull off the upset in this one. Number 11, BYU on the road at Iowa State. Iowa State is a 2.5 point favorite at home. I mean, BYU has proved they're a good team. I am such a Bear Bachmeier fan. I've already said it earlier. Big Bachmeier fan. Cool as a cucumber, and like I said, this is just, they laid it out perfectly for him. You have a few just easy wins to get him acclimated. You take that next step by, I guess, playing Colorado. I don't know. Colorado's not good. I guess next step would be on the road at Arizona, who's got a halfway decent defense. And then coming back home and playing a ranked opponent at home, though. That's the next step. Well, what's the next step now? Playing a very good team on the road. And that's what they're doing. They're going to play Iowa State, who is a borderline top 25 team, on the road. Next step for Bear Bachmeier, and I have all the faith in the world that he will be fine. Like I said, cool, calm, and collected this whole time. I'm a BYU believer. I'm a Bear Bachmeier fan. Iowa State started the season strong. They were definitely a surprise for me this year because I did have them finishing outside the top 25. No, currently they are outside the top 25, but um, they did surprise me starting the season the way they did. But they have lost the last two games, and they've been giving up a lot of yards on the ground, struggling on third and fourth downs. I know they have a couple corners that are injured, down to like their second or third string kicker. I don't remember if I haven't seen if any of those guys are coming back or when they're coming back. Um, BYU has a top 10 run game. And I can officially now say that they actually have played good defenses to prove that they have a good offense, that they're a good team. They also have a top 15 third down defense. I know that Iowa State is the home team, and so I know they're going to get that advantage. And I know they are a good team, but they are injured, and I am a BYU believer now. I think the wrong team is favored in this one. All right, Minnesota minutes. Minnesota at Iowa, Florida Rosedale on the line here. Iowa is an 8.5 point favorite at home. We'll get into that line in a minute because that line bothers me a lot. Iowa's very much like the same team that they always are. They're 5-2, and when they play a bad defense, the offense looks great, and when they play a good defense, the offense looks terrible. Um, Against the three good defenses they've played this year, they are 1-2 in those games. Against Iowa State, Indiana, and Penn State. Yes, I do still consider Penn State to be a good defense. I will not change my mind on that one. Um, in those games, they are scoring 17 points a game, 270 yards a game, and like I mentioned, 1-2 in those games. Against bad defenses, Wisconsin, UMass, Rutgers, they're scoring 40 points a game and averaging over 360 yards a game, and they are 3-0 in those games. They thrive against bad defenses. Bad defenses. It's just insane. Minnesota's defense much closer to the good three than the bad three. So I do expect this to be a lower scoring game for Iowa. Um, One thing I am worried about, and it's stupid, it doesn't matter, but it will just bother me if it happens. Gronowski has not thrown a touchdown against a Power 4 opponent this year. And I mean, it's going to happen at some point. At some point, he has to throw a touchdown against a Power 4 opponent. I just hope it's not the Gophers. That would just bother me so much if the Gophers are his first Power 4 touchdown pass. I just will lose it. I'll be pissed. Um, yeah, just it would bother me so much. And I know it doesn't matter in the grand scheme. It would just bother me. Now, so far this season, because Iowa does have a good defense, nobody's been able to score 30. And I do not expect the Gophers to be able to score 30 at all. Quite honestly, I kind of expect the Gophers offense to struggle because they haven't shown no signs, except kind of against Nebraska, no signs of that run game being anywhere competent, near competent. Um, Iowa's going to shut down the Gophers' run game so fast. It's going to rely all on Drake Lindsey. I expect this to be a kind of not sloppy, just a terrible game. Just a low. If you like defense and low scoring games and terrible offense, uh, this might be your game. Because I don't see a way where the Gophers have any success on the ground. And I mean, Drake Lindsey, he's just a freshman, going up against a good defense. Here's the other thing too that makes me a little worried is yes, Gronowski has not thrown a touchdown, and yes, it would bother me if he threw one. Uh, he is mobile, and we have seen the Gophers struggle, especially. I mean, PJ Fleck era. Anytime it feels like they've ever faced a mobile quarterback, it's been hell. And so this does make me a little nervous that he is as mobile as he is. He could burn the Gophers a lot, and that makes me a little nervous. Now, I said that we were going to get back to this. The line in this game is 8.5 in favor of Iowa. That is just disrespectful. That's a slap in the face. I am offended by that. Um, there's no way that Iowa is a near 2-score favorite at home. I just feel like Gophers are being disrespected. I do think this is going to be a 1-score game. But I do think it's going to be a very low scoring 1-score game. I can't definitively pick a winner in this one because I can convince myself both ways quite easily. But like I said, I do think this is going to be an ugly, low scoring defensive battle. I don't have a winner though. Illinois on the road at Washington. Illinois is the number 23 team in the country. Washington is a 4.5-point favorite at home. Both teams are 5-2. We have seen Washington really struggle with Ohio State, or I should say Washington's offense specifically, really struggle with Ohio State, Michigan, and then Maryland for 3 quarters. The only team that they have not struggled with offensively was Rutgers, who has a terrible defense. Just awful. That's the one where DeMond Williams went off for like 500 combined yards from scrimmage and like 4 touchdowns. I do not expect Washington to struggle with Illinois' defense nearly as much as they do with Ohio State, Michigan, and then, like I said, 3/4 of Maryland. But I will say this, it does feel like Illinois is that team this year that is taking over the Penn State slot, where against the elite teams, they're going to lose. They're just going to lose every single time. But against everybody else, all the good to mediocre to bad teams, they're going to win. Every game that I guess they're not favored in this one, but if you put this game on a neutral field, based on this, it's like a 1 point either way. In games that they are supposed to win, or against that lower tier, I guess, in the Big Ten, because I do consider Illinois towards the top. There's a huge gap between the top and where Illinois is. Give me Illinois with the upset. I don't feel great about it, but I do feel like they're almost taking that Penn State slot where they're going to beat every team equal or below them, just cannot beat the elite teams, which would be like Oregon, Indiana, and Ohio State. We got Baylor at Cincinnati. Cincinnati's the number 21 team in the country. They are a 4.5-point favorite at home. Baylor's defense, I just can't get over how bad their defense is. I don't know why I thought their defense was going to be halfway decent this year. Here's what I thought for Baylor. I thought it was going to be a high-flying offense, which it's been, and that's great. I didn't think their defense was going to be this bad. I thought they would be much better than this, and that would have Baylor in competition to win the Big 12. And I could not have been more wrong. This defense is one of the worst in the country. No Power 4 team has scored less than 27 points this year against this defense. That includes Oklahoma State. No Power 4 team has less than 400 yards of offense against Baylor. That also includes Oklahoma State. Their defense is just so awful. And I don't know, I feel so stupid for thinking that they could be halfway decent. Like I mentioned, offensively, outstanding. Sawyer Robinson has been great, but my goodness, their defense is just so bad to watch. But here's the thing, though, is because their defense is so bad, every single game has to be a shootout. So if somebody does shut down Baylor's offense and they can only score 24 points in a game, you might have a shot to win because there's no way you're scoring less than 30. Or 27, I guess, because that's the lowest that they've allowed against a Power 4 team. The two teams this year that have shut down Baylor's offense, it was Auburn to open up the season and then Arizona State. I don't think Cincinnati's defense is a defense that is going to shut down Baylor's offense necessarily. I don't think they're going to shut them down because we saw Rocco Beck have success against Cincinnati, and we did see Jalen Daniels have success against Cincinnati. Sawyer Robinson is better than both of them. This offense is better than Iowa State's. It's better than Kansas. Uh, give me Baylor to move the ball quite easily, but give me Cincinnati to come away with the win. 22 Texas on the road at Mississippi State. Mississippi State is a touchdown and a half dog at home. This game is intriguing to me because Mississippi State is currently winless in the SEC. I am on record for saying that they were going to win more SEC games this year than they did last year. Now, I know there's still a lot of football left. I do think they could still win one more remaining game. I'm also on record, though, saying that I think Mississippi State could make a bowl game. Well, I'm not trying to be dramatic, but they need this game. They are on the road at Arkansas after this. Home against Georgia, that's a loss. At Mizzou, maybe. Bye week, and then the Egg Bowl, which, don't get me wrong, they could win the Egg Bowl. But they need to win 2 games to make a bowl. At Arkansas, again, we've already talked about Arkansas. That's not necessarily a win either. So again, not trying to be dramatic, but they need this game. And it feels weird saying this, but I think Texas is a winnable game for them. They are somehow 5-2, even though the offense has just been terrible. Defense has been really good. They did have that one hiccup against Florida, but other than that, Texas defense has been great. The offense, man, it has been brutal. Arch hasn't looked great, but I can't put all the blame on him. I just can't. Offensive line has been an issue. 11 sacks allowed, 27 tackles for loss, and that's just in Power 4 games. I'm pretty sure the stats I wrote down. Yeah, these are all just Power 4 games. Run game has struggled, so that hasn't helped out with Arch either. It hasn't been great for Texas. And again, the defense has been great, but the offense just is brutal. Give me Mississippi State. All right, Texas A&M on the road at LSU. Texas A&M is the number 3 team in the country. LSU number 20. LSU is a 2.5-point dog at home. Feels like Brian Kelly's seat is getting a little hotter every single day. I'm still not convinced that he's going to be fired this year. Now, if you told me that he dips out for a job that ends up opening or that is currently open, I guess I wouldn't be shocked by that either. But I haven't been fully convinced that he's going to get fired this year. But there's been rumblings, people are getting upset. That buyout feels so large. LSU's defense been very good this year. Offense has not been good. They have struggled just all season long. They can't run the ball. They had one good game running the ball against South Carolina, and that's about it. And when I say one good game, I'm talking Power 4 only. I don't give a crap what FCS Group of 5 team that they played and that they had success against. I just Power 4. LSU struggles on third down, converting only 32% of their third downs. And here's the thing about Texas A&M's defense. They are phenomenal on third downs. There's only one team that had any sort of success against Texas A&M on third downs, in the SEC, I should say, and that was Arkansas. Arkansas went 4 of 10 on third down, which is only 40%, but that's the best any team in the SEC has done against this Texas A&M defense. Offenses are combined. SEC teams are combined 6 of 43, which is 14% on third downs against this A&M defense. In the country, they are the number 2 team when it comes to third down conversions, only allowing 23%. I feel like it's going to be a struggle for this LSU offense. I feel like the defense is going to do enough to keep them in the game. I don't think the offense can do enough in crunch time to come away with the win. I do think Texas A&M keeps rolling. and Brian Kelly's seat gets hotter. Number 17, Tennessee on the road at Kentucky. Kentucky is a 7.5 point underdog at home. I mean, we saw Kentucky take Texas to overtime last weekend. They lost 16-13, but hey, good for them. It was their first time keeping an SEC team from scoring 30 points this season. So is Kentucky's defense turning it around, or is this Texas offense just suck? I think it's a little column A, little column B. In the end, doesn't matter though. Offense for Kentucky has just been abysmal. It has not been good. So far in SEC play, Kentucky's offense is averaging just under 16 points a game and just barely over 300 yards a game. Those aren't good numbers. Now, on the bright side, Cutter Boley did outplay Arch Manning last weekend, so that is a plus. On the bright side for Kentucky, going into this one, Tennessee is hands down the worst defense that they will have faced. So maybe we see Kentucky score some points in this one. Maybe they actually get over that hump of scoring less than 16 a game. I think they've only broken 20 once. I think that was against Ole Miss. Here's the other thing, though. Kentucky's offense, they've struggled to protect the quarterback, and they struggle to protect the ball. Tennessee, as bad as their defense has been great at getting after the quarterback and great at forcing turnovers. So there is that weird caveat where maybe we see Kentucky's offense finally looks halfway decent for once, or maybe we see this Tennessee defense just get after Cutter Boley, force a lot of turnovers. In the end, I don't think Kentucky can win this game at all. I know this is supposed to be a rivalry game. Yes, I know you're supposed to throw out the record books. But how can this really be a rivalry game when it's so lopsided? Since in the last 40 years, Tennessee has lost 3 times. It's hard to call this a rivalry, but it is. I think Tennessee wins this one quite easily. Houston on the road at number 24, Arizona State. Arizona State is a 7.5 point favorite at home. No Jordan Tyson this weekend, which is a huge loss for Arizona State. He is 40% of their receptions, over 40% of their receiving yards, and he has all but one of their receiving touchdowns. Huge loss for Arizona State. So they're going to be relying heavily on the ground game in this one because they don't have anybody outside of Jordan Tyson, essentially, that to take over that spot. Now, I don't have his name on top of my head here or written down, but they did have a wide receiver breakout last weekend, so maybe he takes over. I don't know. But I think this is going to be a run-heavy game for Arizona State. Houston's run defense, they're fine. They've been good against bad running teams, and they've been bad against good running teams. Texas Tech ran all over them for 200 plus yards, 4.5 yards a carry or something like that. Arizona State does have a good run game, very good run game. So maybe Houston can make some stops and force Arizona State to throw the ball. Maybe it's then a struggle because, like I mentioned, Jordan Tyson is so much of that production. So maybe Houston can keep it close and come away with the upset. But I still think I lean Arizona State. I was leaning heavily Arizona State before this news came out. I'm less sure now, but still Arizona State. Okay. Couple other games I just want to briefly touch on. Syracuse on the road at number 7, Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech is a 17.5 point favorite at home. Syracuse is really missing Steve Angeli. They went from scoring 38 points a game and over 470 yards of total offense a game before the Steve Angeli injury to now scoring 11 points a game and only 305 yards of offense post Angeli injury. I expect a lot of points from Georgia Tech in this one, and I don't know if Syracuse is going to be able to keep up. SMU at Wake Forest. Wake Forest is a 2.5 point dog at home. Wake Forest might go bowling this year. When you look at their schedule, so far it really has not been that hard of a schedule. Georgia Tech and NC State are their two hardest games so far. Those are also Wake Forest's two losses. Um, but there is at least two wins left on this schedule for Wake, and I don't know. This weekend could be one of them. I think SMU is on upset alert this weekend. Colorado at Utah. Utah is a 13.5 point favorite at home. Here's the thing about Utah this season. When they play a poverty team, they're going to dominate and they're going to look like one of the best teams in the country. And then when they play a team with a pulse, they lose. Simple as that. That's really what it comes down to. I was going to say they get destroyed, but they really don't. They play a team with a pulse, they lose. Colorado is a poverty team. We've already seen their defense struggle with mobile quarterbacks. Devin Dampier is going to go off. Utah by 1,000,000. Number 25, Michigan at Michigan State. Michigan State is a 14.5 point dog at home. Yes, this is a rivalry game. Yes, you're supposed to throw out the record books. I don't know if Michigan State could pull this off. Aiden Childs against Nebraska and UCLA looked like garbage. Now, last week against Indiana, he did look a lot better. But my goodness, it's hard to erase those few games before that. But hopefully, it's a trend for him moving forward. Maybe he just had to get that out of his system, and he's good to go now. Michigan State's defense has been terrible. There's no sugarcoating it. They have faced 5 Power 4 teams, and the lowest that any Power 4 team has scored against them is 38 points. As much as Michigan's offense struggles, I don't expect them to have any troubles this week, honestly. Give me Michigan by 1,000,000 in that one. Number 4, Alabama at South Carolina. South Carolina is a 12.5 point dog at home. Oh my goodness. I sound like a broken record at this point. It's exactly what I was worried about for South Carolina going into the season. Terrible offensive line. Weapons are up and down around Sellers. Run game is abysmal. Offense is just bad. Defense is fine. Offense is bad. Easy win for Alabama. And then the last game I want to touch on, NC State at Pitt. Pitt is a 6.5 point favorite at home. Ever since Pitt made the switch to Henschel, I don't know. The offense has been thriving. Pre-Heinchel, and that's what that was, 4 games without him, they had 8 turnovers. In the 3 games with him, 3 total turnovers. What a difference. It's been a huge difference. Pitt has looked like a much better team since he took over. NC State has a very bad defense, particularly their secondary and their pass rush. I expect a 2-score win for Pitt. Okay. Still on probation, but I'm feeling very confident about this weekend. When it comes to my bets, maybe that's not a good thing, but I'm feeling pretty confident. And I'm doing something I don't like to do. I try not to do the Power 4 moneyline parlay and then also do bets from that game on like the spreads. I can't help myself. I had to do it this week. So we'll start with the Power 4 moneyline parlay because I'm excited about this one. We got Rutgers, Kansas State, Ole Miss, and Pitt all to win, and that comes out at plus 1404. I'm feeling really good about this. My 5 favorite bets. So we're going to go Michigan over 30.5, like I mentioned earlier. Michigan State, no Power 4 team has scored less than 38.5, or 38 against 38.5. Has scored less than 38 against them. I mean, there's no way that Michigan doesn't get 30 plus. Here's the one I said I wasn't. I don't like to do this, but I can't help it. Pitt minus 6.5. NC State's got a bad defense. Pitt has a somewhat decent defense. The offense has been great under Henschel. Um, Give me Pitt to cover. Rutgers and Purdue over 58.5. Rutgers has a great offense, but a terrible defense. Purdue surprisingly has a pretty explosive offense. They're also very turnover prone, but that could also lead to points. I expect a lot of points in this one, at least from Rutgers. Whether they score all of them or most of them, I expect a lot of points in this one. I mentioned it earlier, Minnesota plus 8.5. That's just a disrespectful line. I do think this ends up being a one-score game. Yes, I know 8.5, 8 points is a one-score game, but that's also a cover. So give me Minnesota. And then last one, BYU money line. I don't typically do money lines for my favorite bets, but I'm a BYU believer. I'm a Bear Bachmeier fan. Give me BYU to win. So just to run through those again, Michigan over 30.5, Pitt minus 6.5, Minnesota plus 8.5, Rutgers Purdue over 58.5, and BYU money line. I'm feeling so confident about these picks this weekend. So who knows? Maybe that's good for you if you like to tail me, because that might be a bad sign for me. But I'm feeling very confident. I feel like I'm going to get off probation this week, and we'll be all set to go moving forward. So thank you all for joining me. Happy betting. Enjoy the football this weekend, and I will be back on Monday to recap week 9.